Some pages from the good old days of CFAX, Teletext and BBS there. Right now, Night Owl is online and can be accessed. The details are on screen now if you want to get your BBS fix for tonight. We say thanks again to Brian Martin for supplying those pages that we use in the running reel before we go live this evening. Good evening. You are watching youtube.com/Wi-Fi Sheep live. It's time for 8 till late. The time is 20:01 hours GMT +1. Hello, good evening, how are you doing? A very warm welcome, and as I said, good evening to 8 till late here on youtube.com/Wi-Fi Sheep with me, Tom. We're live, great to have your company. Quite a bit to get through this evening, so we'll see how far we get into the evening. I've got a fair bit I want to share with you actually. So anyway, I hope your week's been well. Mine's been going very well. Mainly because I've had it off. I've been on leave for Easter period, so I had some holiday to use up. So I've been off for the week, and I think I'm off next week. I need to check. I think I'm off next week as well. I should have a 2-week block together, which is nice. So yeah, so that's really fantastic, and I've been enjoying that. But with Easter being as late as it is this year, it's been throwing me out a little bit. We've been trying to book time and stuff, and I'm like, something doesn't quite add up. But yeah, so I think we're all right, he says. Anyway, how are you doing? Hope you're well. By the way, if you want to dive into the chat, you do need to be a subscriber for an hour or so. So it's mainly for those of you that are already subscribers. I'd actually be very interested if people want to dive into the chat to basically tell me, what are you working on? What are you doing at the moment? Because obviously we do a lot of, what I'm doing, and that's what we do here on 8 till 8. It's very much a one-man show. But I'm very interested, there's a two-way level of communication going on, as you well know, with the live chat. So I would love to know what you've been up to. Before we go any further, as I always do, let's give a huge thank you and hello to our YouTube and YouTube channel members and Patreon backers. There they all are on the screen. You can join them by going to patreon.com/Wi-Fi Sheep. Alternatively, you can click the join button and you can join right here on YouTube. Join button should be underneath this video that you're watching. Alternatively, all the links should be in the description to this video. I always get a little bit worried when I say, oh, it's in the description, and I actually forget to put it in, which is a bit of a bad habit of mine. But anyway, there they all are. There are the channel members, and it's a huge thank you to each and every one of them. Many of them are in the chat to the video or to the live stream this evening. So, yeah, that's fantastic. And obviously we say thank you, each and every one of them, for your continued support. Now, before I forget, show dates. So obviously whenever I've got a show season coming up, I'm going to go on and on and on about the show dates. So, we've got Econet LAN Party, which is on Saturday the 7th of June, Sunday the 8th of June 2025. That's at the National Museum of Computing, Bletchley Park, Milton Keynes, UK. And a bit later on this year, we have got the Cambridge Retro Festival, which I should be at. Again, everything's subject to change, TBC, but I have now booked all my hotels, so it's my full intention. It's my full intention to be at these events. So as I said, Saturday the 15th, Sunday the 16th of November, that's the big one in Centre for Computing History, Cambridge, UK, England. Details, the LAN party, if you go to, if you search National Museum Computing, TNMOC, the tickets for that are currently available. I've been told we're kind of at the end of the tickets, so I'm not sure what availability is like on that, but that's the one coming up soonest in June, which I'm looking forward to. And I've kind of been racing to try and get some stuff sorted out. Before I come to that, and we'll just come back to me. Hello. Hello. Right, I'm back to me. Before we say what I've been working on today, would you like a car update? No one wants to hear about my car woes, but you're going to because it's my live stream, so I'll be quick. So you might remember my car, Hyundai 2016 Hyundai i20. So it went dead, and I thought it was the battery. I changed it wouldn't turn. Changed the battery, still did it. Took it into the garage. They said it might have been the starter motor. No, I said it was the starter motor because I thought, the characteristics of a bad starter motor, especially if you change the battery. The garage said no, it wasn't, and then the car started behaving itself again. So I've now changed the batteries in the key fobs. It's not a keyless car, but apparently sometimes the immobiliser doesn't actually switch off if the voltage is low in the key fobs. So I've done that, and so far it's been relatively reliable, he says. I also had another issue, which is going to happen when I bought the damn thing, and the garage I bought it from wouldn't honour it under warranty, which is annoying, was the boot lock. It wouldn't open, and this is a 3-door car, so there's no back seat. So there is back seats, but there's no doors for the back seats. So if you can't get in the boot, you're down to a 2-door car, which is extremely annoying. And I was quoted something like £450, which is getting on 500 plus US dollars in price, to have that looked at. And I was told, it's the actual boot lock mechanisms failed. I was thinking, do you know what? I'm just going to, I'm an engineer, I'm a computer person. I'm not a car person, but this is an electrical issue. So let's just take a logical step to this. So took the back panel off, in the boot, or the trunk for those of you in America, but basically the back door that opens in the car. And I took the back inner panel off so I could get to the wiring loom, and took the continuity meter and a couple of pins and just started checking to see if I disconnected the switch from the boot switch you press, the button to open the boot, from the actual boot lock mechanism. And I checked for continuity when you press the button, and nothing. Then took 2 GPIO jumper pins. I haven't got any spare, but like the type we use here all the time in computing. Took 2 of those, put those into the Molex type socket where the switch should go, which is connected to the lock motor, and then basically just shorted it across. Every time I shorted it, it opened the boot, no problem. And I was like, right, it's the switch. So do you know how much a new switch has cost me? I've ordered one myself from eBay. £7.50, or less than $15 US. Right, and with a little help from Anna, my fiancée today, because it's getting to the screws. It was 2 screws, but they were awkward to get to. Fitted the new button, door release, the switch, and it's fine. And now the boot opens. £7.50, and I was being quoted nearly £450. So, yeah. The moral of the story is I hate the car industry, and I hate the car sales industry, and I hate garages, and everyone just seems to be out to completely rip you off. And it's annoying when you can fix things yourself for, less than a tenner. It's utterly ridiculous. Anyway, so I'm happy about that. So I said I've been off this week, and I have been shooting a lot of content. So I've got a project here for the main Wi-Fi Sheep channel, which I've now shot 4 parts for. If you are a Patreon or YouTube channel member, you'll know already what this is about, because I've been posting and updating you about it. However, if you don't, I'll come to it shortly. I've also been shooting some content for Wi-Fi Sheep channel 2. So we do have a second channel, 2.wifisheep.co.uk, and that'll take you to the second YouTube channel for Wi-Fi Sheep. If you haven't subscribed to me over there, because there's only 104 subscribers on that, so if you haven't done, please do go and subscribe to channel 2 as well. So a brand new video for channel 2. Let me just share with you. Here we are. So this was Wednesday, and yeah, so I've explained this. They're these tour buses, open top tour buses, that run in the summer months. So they've actually now started running, well, spring, summer months. and they go from Shrewsbury to Ironbridge, Shropshire, and then they go back via Much Wenlock back to Shrewsbury, and it's like loop. And they've been running for a little while, about 10 years now. And basically, I'm the voice of the buses, believe it or not. I had a contract about 10 years ago to record all the stop announcements and to record like a sightseeing commentary that's played out while these buses drive around. So there's these red, so not all of them are open top, but there's a number of open top or red vintage type buses driving around Shropshire at the moment with my voice booming out of them. And the tour restarted the other week, and because I had some time off, so I said, could I come along? And so this is actually me. This is probably going to be used as a thumbnail. This is going to be a video for Channel 2. So I just shot the whole, not in real time, obviously, but I've shot the whole sort of the tour. And I was invited back to stay on the bus. So once it's done, it's 2 loops for the day, and it dropped the last passengers off. I was offered to stay on the bus, and we went back to the depot. So this is actually me at the bus depot. So, yeah, and this is the tour bus. So you see how it's sheltered at the front and open at the back. So it's quite good for dodgy weather. This is down in Coalbrookdale, Ironbridge. So this is all in Shropshire. And yeah, I found this. This is inside the depot shed. This is also owned by the company. I'm not a big bus person. I like my trains, as you know. I'm not a big bus person, but Leyland National, Mark 1, Leyland National. I don't know, mainly if you're in the UK, although these did operate outside the UK as well, but mainly if you're in the UK. Who remembers these? Because I remember these fondly in the late 80s and throughout the entire 90s, actually. And I hadn't seen one in a while, and yet there we are. They has one with its Shrewsbury destination blind. I was like, oh, it's amazing. It's like almost jealous. It's like, you own all these buses. I want a bus. So I took a picture of that. But you'll see all this in the video, which when I've got it edited. And these were just random shots I took from the top of the bus. So this is Shrewsbury Town Centre with the mixture of the medieval timber frame, black and white buildings, and the 60s brutalist tower architecture. This is Ironbridge. This is the other end of the tour. And that's the actual Ironbridge itself. So I was really lucky with the weather. So it's going to be a really, really nice video. Something a little bit different for Channel 2. Anyway, let's have a quick look in the chat. So where are we doing? We've got, where are we doing? How are we doing? We've got Keop saying good evening. We've got Brian Martin with us. Hello, Brian. We've got Paulie OB. Do you know what? I don't know why I can't. The problem is, right, I put my monitor for the live stream like over there, and then I have to sit over here. So I can't see what I'm, hang on. Because really I want to be like, yeah, that doesn't work. So just excuse me if I can't read my own, it's scary when you think I might need to set windows for like, big font so I can see things. So we also say hello to Martin. Martin Parker is with us. JB, sorry. Hello. Good American afternoon. My phone doesn't want to pop up a text box for chat, so I have to come over to the PC to say anything. Probably be lurking for a while. Don't worry, it's fine. Lurkers are most welcome. Most people do. Yeah. But hello, welcome to you. Lazo. Oh yeah, we were talking about dodgy car dealerships. I think they call themselves dealerships for a reason. Yeah, I know. I've just had 2 very bad experiences now, and it's just doing my head in. And then we're Leyland National buses. So yeah, and this is Paulio BV. That Leyland National is what I travelled on as a kid in London. Very loud. Yeah, I remember them around here because we had them around here again. Those of us of a certain age. I think they lasted into like 2000 or something here. I just distinctively remember them in that shape. And then all of a sudden one day they were gone when I was sort of a young teenager. They've all gone. It's like, oh, right, okay. So always a fond spot for seeing a Leyland National, actually. Not that I'm a bus person, but it's just there's only 2 buses I know. London Route Master, which he, by the way, he actually had in that same garage. I didn't take a picture of it, but it is in the video. He has a London Route Master double-decker bus in there as well. And then Leyland National was at the back, and then there were some more modern generic ones, like Dennis Dart, I think, was in there as well, and all sorts. So, yeah, it's quite cool to actually be invited back to the depot, which is, I couldn't say, for security, I can't say where it is, but it's kind of in the middle of, well, I didn't even know where I was, in all honesty. It's in like rural Shropshire countryside, in one of these like sort of very small industrial estates that's not part of anything or anywhere. And I mean, we did travel quite a way out of Shrewsbury. Just the rural roads, the single track lanes with a full-size double-decker bus to get to the depot. A little bit hairy, but yeah, it was a good fun day, that. So I'm hoping you'll enjoy that video. I said it'll be on Channel 2. Channel 2 is our sort of place for things that aren't computers, basically. So Channel 2 is for everything else that's sort of interesting, Wi-Fi sheep related. And also it isn't chickens or gardens. If it's chickens or gardens, that goes over on the Grow Up Garden Farm channel, which I haven't done anything with this year, which is terrible. But there's currently 3 channels you can look at from myself as Wi-Fi sheep. Anyway, right. Where are we? Yeah, so as I said, I was just sort of curious to see about what people are up to at the moment. What are you working on? If anyone wants to share anything in the chat, as I said, please feel free. I'm just really curious as to what other people are what projects people are doing at the moment. We're going to go full tilt with, I've got 2 things we need to look at tonight. One will start it real shortly, and the other one we'll get to probably after another tea break. So basically, for me personally, so do you know what? I guzzle tea down, and then I can't speak. I did this last week. I will just say, with the nights getting lighter now, and obviously you're switching to British summertime here, BST, or GMT +1 now. Hence why for the rest of the world we start an hour earlier. It's kind of weird starting this and it's still light, because you know how obviously 8 till 8 works more as a sort of winter thing, and when the sort of summer, the spring and the summer start crawling in, it's like we kind of want to be elsewhere potentially on a Saturday evening, which actually brings me to, before I forget, so sorry, I've got like 4 or 5 different narratives I'm trying to run in my head and try and tell you at the same time, but right, before I forget, due to obviously the summer and I need to do other things in the evenings, the lighter evenings, and also the fact that for those of you who don't know, the other month, I/we, as in myself and my partner, actually bought a house, as you do. So we're going to hopefully be moving this summer, which means that I need to get a lot of content for the channel shop now, because absolutely everything you see needs to be packed up and moved. And then we need to set up a whole new studio and a whole new space in a completely different house. That's quite a tall order. It's no small feat. So obviously we're going to have to sort of bring this series to an end soon. I'm thinking we'll probably go through May, and we'll come sort of to the end of it. The end of May, we'll probably call an end to season 3. I can then do what I need to do, and then when the fall or autumn, we start drawing near towards winter, probably around November time, we'll come back and we'll start the live streams again for season 4. So that's kind of my plan at the moment. I've just noticed, sorry, I was semi-distracted there because I shouldn't leave my chat open when I'm trying to talk to you, because things happen and I get distracted. But TB Martin, who is a regular actually, has just actually joined as a member on the mid support. So thank you very much, and for your support and saying evening, just got around to finally supporting you. Well, thank you very much. That is really kind of you, and I really do appreciate that. So thank you so much for your support. And that's with our YouTube channel members support system. So that will mean next time I'll just go back over here. I'll add you to the list. So that's going to knock Paulio B off the top. Sorry about that, because everyone shuts down one. There's no particular order. That's just the linear order, and everyone joined in. So we'll add you to the list, but thank you so much. Really do appreciate that, TB Martin there. Brian is just telling us, so you have a small software project on the go. Okay, tried to sort out a RSS reader for Night Owl. Okay, where I scrape a feed to a text file using Python. Okay, on a Py4, then read it using the Beeb. Using the Beeb within Night Owl. Oh right, okay. Yeah, so you might remember last week we looked at. Brian actually sent me a RS-232, BBC Micro RS-232 to USB serial cable as a way of getting, basically linking serial data, linking the BBC Micro, 8-bit BBC Micro to a modern PC or Raspberry Pi, with a view that you can set up Raspberry Pis to act as bridge modems, so you can actually get your BBC Micro online, or /and your BBC Micro could host, for example, a BBS, which is what Night Owl is and how Night Owl works. So that's Brian's system. So he has a BBC, you said it was a Master 128, that basically runs, and then you dial into it for a modern internet connection. And that's how that works. So he sent me the spare cable for Night Owl. And I was like, I hope you've got yourself another spare. It's very kind of you to have sent me that spare, but I was a bit worried. It's like, what if you suddenly need the spare? So last week we looked at that, but my BBC Master started playing up again. So that's what I want to look at in part 2, or the second part of this evening. I haven't been able to get any modem stuff sorted out myself. I am going to do that next week, because I've been kind of full steam ahead on the project I'm going to show you in a minute. But I do want to get a bridge modem working, so I can get BBC Micro online with a view or with a view of possibly running a small BBS myself. Originally I wasn't going to, but I might run a sort of limited Wi-Fi sheep info service BBS or something, which might be quite cool. So let's just go back to the chat. So Brian's saying that's your only project at present. Well, that, and of course Night Owl, and the daily struggle to keep that going. I know you've had some technical issues of late, so I haven't been in this week. I need to, basically, if you register with Night Owl, it's free to register. You have like a mailbox type system, so people can like private message you, and there's like bulletin boards and things on there. So yeah, sorry, I can't read and talk at the same time. It's terrible. Just look at TV Martin. Yep, sorry about that, and sorry to the other Martin. My comment is referring to your thank you. Ident. Hey, have I missed something? Okay. Have I? Hey. All right. Okay. Right. I don't understand that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Don't worry. Anyway, great to have your company, all the same. So if someone wants to explain that to me, go ahead. But if you don't, it's fine. We'll move on. Yeah, but no. So basically, I was thinking kind of just before we came on air this evening. Because as many of you know, I used to do radio shows. I actually used to. I started when I was at university, so actually on proper FM licensed radio. And to be honest with you, I don't think anybody actually listened to anything I ever said on these stations. I don't think anyone listens to me now, in all honesty. But I was like, probably had an audience of nothing. And the worst one was when I was with Kick FM in Wolverhampton. I was the world's worst breakfast DJ presenter. It was a youth station, and although I was in my 20s, I was still like I am now, which is not particularly very cool or with it. And it was a car crash. It was like a poor man's Radio 1, and then there was me, all middle class and slightly uptight, and it just didn't work. And I just remember on those shows, I was like trying to get anyone to text or email or message. Nothing at all would come in. And I'm just thinking, I get a bigger audience now with doing this live stream than I had on any of those kind of radio station stuff I used to do. So been a few years actually since I've done any live radio or anything like that. But I like to think that those shows were a little bit more organised than this. This is a bit of an organised car crash every week we do this, but it kind of doesn't matter because YouTube being the platform it is, it's not like it's part of a licensed, formal broadcaster or anything. So you have that freedom to do things without too much consequences. And obviously you have that one-to-one interaction with what you see and hear can come feedback live to me, as opposed to people having to text or email or whatever it was when I was doing the radio. Anyway, where are we? So, you mentioned the card and how you have to update it. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Right. Yes, I'm with you now. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. But yeah, I have to update my members card. The worst one was I didn't realise that poor Robert Diggle there on the end got knocked off the card for some reason. So we did several videos and several weeks, and I realised I hadn't got everybody on the damn card. So I have to apologise for that, but no, it's no problem. I will update the card for next week. I will pop you on there, so absolutely no problem at all. And of course, I'll update you for when the new videos come out, because there's always all channel members or Patreon backers are shown on the end card of each of my videos now. So yeah, it's not a problem, and it's great to have you on board. And Martin's are like buses. You wait for one of three come along at once. Oh, yeah, that's not going to be confusing in the slightest, is it? Yes. Considering, was it Martin Parker, wasn't it? What did I confused you with? Who did I confuse you with? Hang on. Mark. That's right. I kept calling you Mark, didn't I? When I met you in person at last year's Cambridge Retro Computer Festival. You spent all Sunday basically with me. You gave me a lift back to the car park where my car was, and basically I called you Mark for the entire time. And then we have to apologise when we did this, so yeah. My bad. So I'm not, if anything, TB Martin, I'm the one who needs to apologise, because I just screw everyone's name up constantly. Anyway, right. Half an hour in, and I've not shared with... Start again. Half an hour in, and I have not shared with you my project. So, let's cut to camera 2. And Martin's saying, I just went along with it. You could have said something. I was making an arse of myself the entire day, Martin. You could have said something, but never mind. Just went, yeah, close enough. Oh dear. Anyway, yeah. So I've had a fantastic week actually working on this. I'm gonna. I don't have a decent camera angle. Well, do you know what? I could, because no one gets seasick. I don't have a good camera angle from this side, but I could borrow. This is probably a very, very bad idea, but I'll try not to make everybody. It's gonna, yeah, it's all tangled up, so this is going to be a really, really bad idea. But right. So apologies for the wonky vision. There we go. So yeah, here we go. So this is a rebuild of a Acorn RISC PC, and it's been one of my big projects which I've had to push through because I want to take this machine to exhibit at Bletchley Park at the National Computer Museum in June, and I also want it to feature in November in Cambridge. So being as I'm potentially moving house this summer, I don't have a lot of time, that with work commitments. So while I've got the time off over Easter, I just thought, let's get this up and running. So this particular machine is actually a bit of a Frankenstein hybrid of two RISC PCs. So I had an original RISC PC, which was given to me actually before I started Wi-Fi Chic by a member of the RISC-OS Midland user group, who kindly donated it. And it did work for a while, and I did take it out to one or two Raspberry Pi jams, but then it suffered a battery leak, and the battery had leaked in it before I had it. and I took the battery out, but it was already damaged, the board. I cleaned the board up, but it had just all got into the RAM, and slowly over time the machine has just died. First it lost its video RAM, so it could only run at 640 by 480 pixels, and then eventually, recently, it's just completely stopped working altogether, which is annoying. This particular machine, or most of it, actually was one, you might remember 2 years ago, I forgot his name now, but he's no longer a backer, but a backer on Patreon actually met me at the Stafford Computer Raspberry Pi Jam Computer Club and donated to me a single stack RISC PC, which is what this is, or single slice RISC PC. And the machine was completely shot. You might remember it was a horror show. It was spin out, exposed the elements, it was soaked, it had rust and compost inside. And to make matters worse, so its battery had leaked. And I think he turned it on, and it just sent 240, 230 volts from the main and just blew everything sky high. There was absolutely nothing left that was salvageable. And so it sat outside for 2 years. Well, I say outside, it sat, we did an initial clean up, we tried to get it working, but it was completely shot. So basically what was left of it, the power supply, the PSU was so bad, it was so rusted and wet and oily and gone as well as, I chucked it out. But the rest of it just sat dumped out in the summer house here. So it's sort of been in an outbuilding for 2 years. And then I think I started this project, so come January this year, January, February, I actually extracted this and started work on a complete rebuild. And when I say complete rebuild, basically there's actually no original innards inside this, but I wanted to keep it compatible as a Acorn RISC machine, so it wasn't just a case of slamming a Raspberry Pi inside it or something. I wanted to try and keep all the originals, so things like, you know, the LEDs light up. If I open the door, you can see it has actually got, so the floppy disk drive in this slice was already sealed, so we can't use floppies, but the CD is where your optical drive would have gone, and I've actually fitted an off-the-shelf USB type hub, which fits into the 5¼ inch jack space. The door itself has this spring door on RISC PCs that is sort of working. The power switch isn't working at the moment, but it is there, but there's nothing behind it. But also, this machine is capable of running with its original, well, I say this isn't the original keyboard for this unit. I do have the keyboard for this unit, and I took a couple of pictures, which let me just show you. So let's just, so there's the RISC PC that's inside, and right, here we are. So this is the keyboard that came with the machine, and yeah, it's not great. I don't know if it works, but it's been exposed to the elements as well, so the whole machine was in this state. And I was just like, right, so I'm hoping, because these keyboards online, if you look on eBay, they're going for about £70, or, you know, coming up about $100 US. So I was a bit like, I kind of need to get that keyboard cleaned up. So that's the project for another day. But because I've been a bit short on time, basically we've gone with this keyboard. Now this is off the original RISC PC that I was donated, which is much better nick. It's actually an IBM PS2 compatible keyboard. So Acorn used the PS2 or AT protocol for the RISC PC. But they didn't use the same protocol, and this is rather annoying, for the mouse. Now this is the mouse from this machine. See how it's yellowed? I've cleaned this up because it was also in an icky state. I've not been able to test it because I don't have a working RISC PC to test it with at the moment. But the standard, if I show you it, so that looks like PS2. It's not. It's actually a little bit larger than PS2. It's actually Acorn Archimedes mouse standard. And you see the pinout is completely different. So although you can get adapters, it might be possible to make this original mouse work with this. I haven't been able to do that. So you could potentially, because this machine now has USB, use a USB mouse. But what I have found are these PS2 free button mice. Now, RISC OS, to work properly, and when these machines were new, were issued with free button mice. So I've actually found, I've had this a little while actually, have actually got a free button PS2 compatible mouse, which is absolutely fine. It's a proper rollerball, sort of period correct mouse, so it's not quite the right one. Let's get the right around. But the keyboard is the original RISC-PC keyboard. But the machine itself is actually very, very different inside. So just excuse me while I've got no space at the minute, but let me just very carefully. You know, this is one thing about moving, is if we have a bigger studio and workshop to work in, this is going to make live streaming and work projects so much better. Right, there we go. So hopefully you can see that. So the case, this is all the original case in plastics. I have the original single slice locking, where are we? There we are, locking pins. These were sent to me via Peter Halkins, who is the co-maintainer of the RPC EMU. So that's the RISC-PC emulator program for PC Mac Linux. We've used it before. I know Peter quite well, and he actually sent me from a scrap machine that he had down in London the locking pins that you need to lock the cases together for a single slice. So anyway, so we take those like that. We take the lid off, and I'm going to show you inside. So this is all going to be covered in the series coming up, the Rotten Acorns RISC-PC Rebuild series. And you can see inside, it's actually very, very different. For those of you who know your Acorn RISC-PCs, this is very different inside. There's actually a lot of empty space where things used to be. So down here, this is where the PSU, which used to basically take the entire side of the unit, was where the power supply was, and your kettle lead would have plugged in here. You can actually see the power switch, or the plastic for the power switch is just here. So there's a little pin stanchion that pushes through and would actually push the button on the PSU on the inside. Now, what happened was, I think when this machine was stored, when it blew its battery, I think it was actually stored on its side, which meant all the battery acid and everything and all the moisture ran this way into the PSU. So the PSU was heavily corroded and rusted. The board actually wasn't in bad nick, and had it not been turned on, the original board may have been salvageable. Alas, it wasn't to be. So what I had to do is I've tried to clean up, because there's a lot of corrosion. This is all plastic, but it had like rust and things embedded in it. So basically I had to clean up with wet and dry paper or sandpaper. I sort of had to take off a lot of the layer where the corrosion was. And I've just used, so it's not quite the right colour, it's a gloss grey, but I've just masked off with tape and just rattle can sprayed this area just to make it look a little bit better. So that's that. But basically, I had a plastic box with virtually nothing in it. The only original item on this is the front power LED, which survived and works. Everything else has had to be replaced. And I was thinking about what would be, you know, the best alternative board that you could use if you didn't have a RISC-PC board. I didn't want to just shove an off-the-shelf Raspberry Pi in it. Admittedly, we have gone down the Pi route. What I have used is the, let's be careful, there we are, is the Raspberry Pi compute module. This is the Pi 4 compute module. There's the compute module board here, and the official Raspberry Pi I/O board. Nice thing about the I/O board is it has all its actual I/O. All the sockets are on one side, so it's like a proper little PC motherboard. And it has a lot of internal pins, including the pin header, the 40 pin header that we're used to. And it also has additional pin headers for things like internal USB. Extremely useful. Hence why I've been able to take an off-the-shelf USB serial here, or it's USB hub, sorry. And I fitted that into what would have been the optical drive bay. But one thing I did want to happen, or want to work, was to reuse the original keyboard. And I was thinking, how are we going to do that with, obviously the Raspberry Pi base system is USB and I need PS2. But you could get these very cheap PS2 to USB adapters. Now that's different to these sort of things, which basically are just pass-throughs. So these rely on your hardware having a USB or PS2 protocol. Obviously, original Acorn keyboards and these kind of mice do not have USB protocols. But these devices, with the board inside the little piece here, actually runs the protocol and converts from the PS2 signal. So I've created a little caddy here, 3D printed caddy, and you can see the mouse and the keyboard are plugged into the other side. Basically, it's then adapted to a USB socket here, and then there's wires, basically it's just jumper wires, up to a spare set of pins, and that plugs it on the inside. At the moment, that's it, other than obviously I've managed to tap the original LED, power LED into the GPIO pins on the board as well. But that's fundamentally it at the moment. So next thing I do need to do is figure out how to do a button to actually have a power on-off button here, which is probably what I'm going to be doing possibly next week, but I don't want to run over too much next week. The main thing was to try and get this machine actually up and running. And it does actually work. So the main power supply, unlike with Raspberry Pis, normal Raspberry Pis, is actually a proper barrel connector. And this all came from the Pi Hut, but I'm not sponsored by them. This came from the Pi Hut. So this is actually the RS power supply that comes with it. So it's a proper power supply. 5 volts, where are we? Output. Oh, I beg your pardon, 12 volts output. Okay, interesting. 2 amps, 12 volts. So obviously it's doing a bit of voltage regulating somewhere on there. Really? Is it that high? 12 volts. Oh, wow. Okay. So you don't have power issues, put it that way. So that goes in there. And I'll actually, do you know what? Just bear with me a minute. Again, apologies for this. So let's just adjust the camera because I really need to show you this. Again, try not to make everyone feel sick. There's cables everywhere, so just excuse the cables that are absolutely everywhere on this. Okay, hopefully you can see that all right. So by fluke, the new boards actually more or less marry up with, let me just find a pencil something to point with. So more or less actually marry up with the connectors. Sorry, I got the mouse everywhere. With the connectors, with the connector spacings in the case. So the power supply just squeezes in here. You've got, there is a little USB micro USB. That's for flashing, because these things don't actually run with SD cards. So this, by the way, is all running on eMMC solid state. It's one of the very few Pi products that actually has an eMMC on board. So there is an SD card reader behind this pillar, but we don't use it in this setup. So I left this pillar in here. The twin USB just about fit. Oh, excuse me. Hay fever coming on. We then have the Ethernet jack. We've got 2 full-size HDMI ports. 2 full-size HDMI ports. Risco S can only use one of them, so we go into HDMI 0, which is here. The original mouse and keyboard ports are here. Unfortunately, you can just make out there where the board for the main I/O module sort of comes in, so we couldn't actually use these original ports, which is a shame. This here would have been for the VGA connector, and with this adapter and what I've created, again, apologies for the poor light, but you can see I 3D printed a very snugly fitting adapter, and you've got the 2 sockets, which are the correct way around, so mouse, keyboard. So we can then plug the PS2, the original keyboard, and the mouse. So again, I'm doing this blind, so I can't see what I'm doing. I'm going to look at the screen as with the shot you're seeing. There we go. So that's the keyboard, and that's the mouse. And the others are actually at the moment unused, and I might end up blanking those off. But yeah, so that's actually how the machine looks at the moment. Does it work? Well, I can turn it on and I can show you a boot sequence if you want. After we turn it on, Again, let me just grab this camera. I would have set up a third camera, but I'm a little bit short on I/O to be able to do that with live streaming, so just bear with me. Right, okay. So again, apologies for the wonky vision. So this, by the way, I'm missing. There should be a little clip in here, which I haven't. I have got a clip. I just haven't fitted it yet. So that's why the door goes a bit wonky on that side. The spring assembly is here. So the case did have its original spring, and there's this little plastic tab. You can see that little plastic tab just there, which breaks on all these cases. This one's still got it, but I don't anticipate that going to last too long. Anyway, right. So let's power up. So at the moment, it's a straight power up from the mains. So I'm going to power up, and you'll see the only original bit electronic-wise, the green LED does boot. Or just turn on, I should say. And we should, because it was working earlier. There we go. So that's RISC-OS Pi. It's a standard rule RISC-OS Open Limited version for the Raspberry Pi. It's not direct or anything like that, which I know I was originally working on, but it's not that. It's just the stock at the moment. And it gets stuck looking for a internet connection, but it will jump through in a minute. There we are. And there you go. So it's set up, and actually, instead of looking at that screen, we can should be able to cut live to the there we are, to the video card. So it's actually set up to look like or mimic, where possible, the original Acorn RISC PC. So if I now move the mouse, this is the original. Well, I say the original 3-button. It's a 3-button compatible PS2 mouse. And I've set the desktop up to give it that kind of 90s look. So it's set up with, this is just a stock theme within RISC-OS. So anyone can do this with the Pi build. But it's trying to make it look like it is the original machine. So we're running it running a little bit high on the resolution. We can drop down to, there we are, 600 by 800. We could do 640 by 480. But I've sort of, it's ironic really, because when I was trying to do RISC-OS Direct originally, and the Wi-Fi sheet builds of RISC-OS before that, I was trying to modernise the OS. Now, because I'm trying to have it running in a sort of period correct machine, I'm doing everything the other way to try and make it look as old as possible. So I'm trying to go for that sort of 90s vibe, which was all this sort of paper office grey cut, I don't know what you call this, and sort of, you know, these thick borders on everything. At the moment, it's a pretty standard rule build. I haven't done much in the way of setup. I haven't added anything as yet. But it's fast, it's efficient. The middle button, which acts a bit like right click, works. And you can see the information for the build there. So this is, at the moment, version 5.30 from the 27th of April 2024. So that at time of live streaming / recording is the most current build version available. But yeah, I have to say I've been thoroughly enjoying this project. This week has been fantastic just to work on this machine, and it's really coming along, and it's starting to look the part, if you know what I mean. Still got a way to go, especially the setup, but it'd be so nice to take this out to shows and have something that, I mean, I'm not going to try and pass it off as an original RISC PC, because obviously it's not. It's very different inside, but it's a sort of heavily modernised RISC PC. It's nice to have original Acorn operating system. It will still run most of the RISC PC software, will run fine, but we've now got things like USB, which makes obviously running software a lot easier. And we can fit things like Wi-Fi inside here. Now the RISC-OS Wi-Fi is relatively new and not great, but there's an option to fit it, and there's also an option to do lots of additional things as well. So I've just thoroughly enjoyed this project, and I'm really looking forward to bringing you the video series, going into the detail of actually how I've got to the point I've got. I'm going to maybe shoot part 5 tomorrow, who knows, because I want to fit a button in here. For those of you that are curious of how that might work, just grab my under the desk here, my parts. I'm guessing everyone has a parts box, yeah? Let me just put my lid back on a minute, so I've got a surface to... These things are big as well, that's why I'm... It'd be nice just to have, like, you know, a vintage looking machine that's reliable. So I got these, which are on-off push buttons. So I was wondering if it's possible to embed one of these basically sort of into the case. Let's just move that out of the way. Take the lid back off again. So I was wondering if it's sort of possible to embed one of these down here. You're not going to be able to see that, I can't see it, but embed one of these switches into this piece here. If I take these out, so RISC PCs are a modular design, so these all work in slices. So if we just take the pins completely out of the case, while the machine is still on, just very carefully we can lift. If I'll just move that forward so you can actually see there's a gap here. So I'm actually wondering if it's possible, we just push the button forward, oops, push the button forward, of actually widening this. There's a slot, there's an open slot here, you can see. And I'm just wondering if it's actually possible to widen that slot out and fit the button into here. Yeah, and then basically either probably this one's, because it's an original, RISC PCs tend to lose these, the buttons break, but this one's actually intact, it's the original button. But what I'm thinking of is you can get, there's CAD to 3D print, so I'm thinking about maybe 3D printing a new button and then basically sticking, instead of having this stem, making the button a bit thicker and then sticking it onto the red button like so. So when you push it, it pushes back and forth. And then it's just a case of trying to connect these two back to intercept the connection on the barrel connector. So we go in, but instead of going through the boards, I need to cut a tray somewhere and then send a wire round to here and then back again. And when you push this button in, it makes the circuit, and that's the same as the barrel connector being in. So, and then it gives us our push button, front panel push button mechanism. So that's my thinking, but I'm kind of thinking I might do that with a 3D printed version, which I might print in a grey, a darker grey than this, so probably more a grey, this sort of colour. So it gives a visual clue that this machine is not original, if you know what I mean. Because I don't want to try and pass something off as original when it isn't. But when you've got no innards, and these RISC PCs seem to be very good at sort of spewing all their innards out, it's kind of like a good compromise. So I'm just putting me, there we go, putting my lock pins back in. It's a good compromise, and it's to get something that looks about right, back up and running, and obviously gives you that user experience. Oops, there we go. And with the screensaver which I've set up, and it gives you that user experience. And you know, it's not an emulator. What you're looking at is running natively on the system, and without the use of SD cards like you would on a standard Pi. So it's close. It's very, very close to what would have been. And you've got your themes, your mouse. You know, you've got everything here. It's running natively. So, and it's super, super fast. It was always fast, even on the original Pi and Pi 1s it was fast. But you can really, really tell it is fast on this. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at the moment. I've still got to do the full software setup. Really, I'm probably just going to put games on this. It's going out to shows. Back to the shows just quick, actually. So, for the Ethernet LAN party, it won't be on the Ethernet. I'm hoping to run it just as a sideshow exhibit, but I hope it's going to make there and it'll be there to play with and to talk about, you know, for people that may have completely rotten or broken RISC PCs that have no hope in hell's chance of getting back to running again. This is a real alternative you know, to basically rebuild your machine. So that'll be in June. But come Cambridge, I want to take this along to Cambridge and have it running. Cambridge's theme this year is gaming. I've never done a gaming theme before for the main retro show. So this needs to run games. Lots and lots and lots of loud, flashy games. And luckily, for the period, there is actually quite a lot of good ports or some native sort of retro AAA releases available for the RISC PC, and it even runs some, with the help of an emulator, some Archimedes stuff would run. Actually, to tell a lie, some BBC Micro stuff would run on this as well. So I'm going to have a full suite of emulators set up that run natively on the RISC PC side or RISC OS side. So yeah, so that's the plan, and that's why I've sort of been rushing to try and get this machine back together at the moment. I've really messed up that camera. There we go. Are we in focus? No. There we are. Yes, that's about right. So yeah, but yeah, no, it's been absolutely fantastic project. Now, I'm just looking at what I've done with it's down there. So he says, I've had some bits sent to me, and I don't know what I've done with them. Well, I say sent to me, I've ordered some stuff, which might be in the other room. So I'll go and grab that. I ordered some bits from the Pi Hut again. All I do is been buying constantly from the Pi Hut. Not sponsored by them or anything, just seems to be where I end up buying most of my stuff. And I do have something additional I'd like to just try with this. Just conscious about the time though, but just give me a moment. Just wait there a moment. I'll be right back. I think it's in the other room. Oh, it's not. It's here. I did bring it in. It was just on the shelf. Right. So let me just show you what I've got in here. So this is from the Pi Hut. It's got my address on the front. So let's not show that on camera. Let's just put our lid back on. Right. So this is from the Pi Hut. And at the moment, for my Project Rio project, which is still the 8-bit home build project, still going on, I always buy when they've got them in stock, I always get that open. I always buy a Raspberry Pi Zero, one of the original spec 01s. Although I've noticed this has changed a little bit actually. So this is revision. This is 1.3. I think most of mine are 1.2s. This is but this is still used to the original 700 megahertz, so it's clocked to 1 gigahertz, single core ARM CPU from the original Pis. And the reason is that Project Rio uses these for video terminals. They run bare metal with an SD card as the video terminal for the system. So I try and buy one every time I make an order from Pi Hut, because they still, how many years later, 2014 these came out, so we've nearly had a decade, and they're still restricting the sale of these to one per customer per transaction, which is really annoying when I'd like to just buy X amount in bulk. But anyway, so I always pick up one of those. I also picked up another Raspberry Pi HDMI, micro HDMI to full-size HDMI adapter, because mine seem to keep breaking and I keep losing them, or I can't find one. If you want to use a Pi 4, 400, 5 or 500, I don't have a 500 by the way, but yeah, just a nightmare, keep losing the adapters. So I've kind of got to the point of saying sod it, so I bought another adapter, so I actually now have another spare. But the main thing I wanted to show you, just move this box out of the way, is this, which is from a third party. And it's a PCIe to M2 converter plate. Now this is because I made a tweet, a post on X. By the way, I also post everything on the other Twitter sphere platforms. So we're on Blue Sky and we're on Mastodon as well as Facebook. The reason I'm just reminding you about that is there's a very real possibility that I may decide to cease with X at any point shortly. I'm kind of getting a bit fed up with the platform. It's not even the political nature of it. It's just the amount of junk you now got on X and the spam and the stuff it pushes at you, which I just don't want to read. So, and plus a lot of the other retro computing community people have gone and have left the platform. So it's not out of the possibility that at Wi-Fi Sheep on X might disappear at some point, but you can still find at Wi-Fi Sheep on Blue Sky, Mastodon, and Facebook. That I'm still there with those. Also, I'm on Instagram. I do have a Threads account for it as well, but I don't really use Threads either. So anyway, just to let you know. But anyway, I put this out, this tweet, and I had Andy Marks from RISC-OS Bits, which is one of the few RISC-OS Acorn vendors left in sort of business, if you like, got in touch with me, and I was basically made a sort of a tweet about this project. It was just a picture of the Pi module board, compute module board running outside the case at the time, and he said, would I like an experimental ROM that he was working on for RISC-OS that allowed it to use the M2 NVIe, whatever the solid state hard drives that Raspberry Pi do, and it would allow RISC-OS to use it. So I went, yeah, that'd be great, because I did have, and I probably lost it now, I did buy and it's in one of these, and I should have found it before we went live. I did buy a Raspberry Pi branded, oh, it's here, it's alright, it's here. I did buy a Raspberry Pi branded SSD, solid state SSD, which is this little card here. We reviewed it. I was going to put it in some of the Chinese Pi boards. You know, some of the Pi boards I've reviewed actually have native support for these on board. Never did it. So I have this, basically this brand new, more or less unused Raspberry Pi SSD. It's a 256 gigabyte card. There we are. It's a NVMe. That's what I was looking for. But this basically is an adapter plate that allows you to use these cards. So you need to make sure it's got the holes, because a lot of these have different size cards, and you want one that's compatible with the 2230, which is what this is. And we can plug this, there we go, slide in like that, and it always tilts at a slight angle. And that's why they give you some fixings. So we should be able to just screw the card down onto this adapter plate. So we're going to go like that, he says. And just trying to work out how this works. So is it the case? Do you just know? I think you actually fit, there we are, you fit that in, there, I think. And do you then screw that from the other side? I'm guessing you probably, God, this is a bit fiddly. I'm guessing you then screw that from the other side. Yeah, that would make sense, but I need to find a small crosshead screwdriver. Flathead, star shape. No, why haven't I got any crossheads? Flathead again. One of these will be the right one. There we are, finally. God, the last one in the bunch. Right, there we go. Okay. So put that like that. That fixes that in there. There we go. Excellent. So that's the card now fitted. So we'll just put these bits away. Now make sure I power down my RISC PC. Take the lid back off, because on the Raspberry Pi compute module for the, this is for the 4, I think the 5 has it as well, there is actually this PCIe card slot. So the cards can only go in one way, so it's got the little cutout. So the card actually goes in this way, and it just fits. There we go. And that should actually fit, or basically allow the Pi to see this new hard drive space. If it will or not is another matter. So we'll put that in like that. This card, by the way, was only, the adapter card that is, was only, I think it was less than £5. It's a bit £5-6, something like that. But it's not the most securest fit in the world, to be honest with you. That's going to fall out. But anyway, right, that's in. So that basically gives us a solid state hard drive. So at the moment, RISC-OS is running off the eMMC memory, which is on board the compute module card. You can get compute modules that rely on the SD card and don't have the onboard memory. So this is 8 gigabytes of eMMC flash storage and 2 gigabytes of RAM. RISC-OS really can't make much use of anything other than 2 gigs, so there's no point, you know, having a 8 gig of RAM or something. It just won't be able to use it. So let's turn this back on. I need to sort this out because this delay when we get going is really annoying. There we go. Right. It should boot more or less straight through, and it's just because it's looking for an internet connection that obviously isn't there. Right, so I'm not expecting it to see the card straight away, so I think this is where the ROM comes in that Andy has sent me. By the way, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Apologies, wrong one. Actually, it is what I wanted to do. I've just set up the wrong. Apologies, just bear with me. Interesting. For some reason, all of a sudden, Fingerbob decides it can't see the web browser. Right. There we are. Slight technical glitch. I was just going to show you RISC-OS Bits website, but that's fine. We can. We don't have to do that. That was interesting. Oh well, never mind. Right, where were we? Yeah. So basically, Andy sent me a ROM and some instructions, which I've got here on USB stick, and we can actually now, for the first time, easily plug a USB stick into my RISC PC on the front. With a bit of luck, that should see the drive. It does. And it doesn't understand it. So it might not be in FAT format. Oh, at some point I'll win. Great. Is that not in the right format? It sees it. Let me just take that out. Let me just check, actually, because you know what? I've never tried, he says, I've never actually tried a USB stick in this yet. I've used like one of those cheap mice just to test it. So let's just see if this one works. This should work. There we go. And that doesn't work either. Okay. This is interesting. I'm just going through any random stick I've actually got This one should. Yes. There's actually a product called Risco stuff on here. Ah, but there's some software. That helps, I guess. For a minute there, I was getting worried because I thought, hang on a minute. These are my basic programs. Let's copy Nanogangs as well. So there's Chucky Egg, Lemmings, Starfighter. You double click, there we are, Starfighter 3000. So we could always install that, even though we can't, annoyingly, we can't see the card though. So probably hasn't been formatted. That's probably why it can't be seen. Okay, not to worry. So if we go back, diversion, which is those are the stock on board games. Interestingly, if I try and load Hopper, it doesn't work at the moment because it's requiring a resolution that this can't go to. So I need to deactivate the monitor edict so that it will just force through. Instead of trying to run in proper native resolution, it just emulates the resolution, which is a trick Risco always did for creating these weird or very low resolution file formats. But if I need to create Starfighter 3000. Can I do that? Does that work? It does work. There we go. 32-bit version of Starfighter 3000. It's easy as that to install. Which is it's a of its time. It's still a very, very fun game, actually. So that's great. So that works. Excellent. Lemmings is not happy. Let's just quit that a minute. No, not happy. Chucky Egg. I think it is a port of the BBC Micro Chucky Egg, which we'll have. Guardian. I'm not sure if that's actually. That might be. We'll try it. Oh, it does work. He says it does work until it doesn't. What happened there? It gets so far and it stops. It could be that it requires an Archimedes. It might be too new to run on here. Chucky Egg should run, but its resolution is probably going to be absolute failed. Yeah, so there's a few issues that need to be fixed, but it should run. At least we've got the games on here. No, I don't think Rainbow Island's going to work. And that's not going to work either. So yeah, okay, it's a few things, but okay, that's good. At least we've got a few stuff on here that does actually run. Is that my basic engine? Oh, it is. This is the 3D. I say 3D engine. It's something I wrote in BASIC. Probably getting them 10 years ago now. I was just testing to see if you use the arrow keys. It gives you a there was a way of zooming in, which I've now forgotten how to do it, but and then you could just. By the way, that's me using the original Acorn keyboard. So yeah, that's great. There's a few things in here actually, but yeah, okay. So we've added a bit of software unintentionally. Don't think there's anything else on here that's... Oh, it's a copy of... Really? There's a copy of DD Basic. Which if I let's go back to... Documents. Let's make a new folder. So go middle click, new directory. Basic. Copy and drag that in. And set type from DOS to basic. New. Okay. Oh well, there we are. That's curiously interesting, even if it doesn't work. But anyway, right. So we should be able to dismount that. Yeah, we can. So my gut feeling is this must be, this USB stick I was trying to use must be in the wrong format, because it can only see from memory, it can only see FAT for 16, FAT32 format, DOS formatted drives. It can't see the sort of the NTSF, or I thought that stick was in a FAT format, but okay, that's annoying because there was RISC OS stuff on it. So yeah, curious. Anyway. What I was hoping to do was I was hoping to see about getting see if we get Andy's thing up and working, but it would mean changing the ROM on the machine, which, considering I've sort of got this up and running, I was a bit like, do I want to change the ROM? It'd be nice to have the, if it could see the additional disk storage, that would be nice, but it will need a new ROM to do that. So the ROM, by the way, there's an application. There's a couple of ways of doing this, but if you've got boot, and if you double click, you can hold down Shift and do this. So if you double click but hold on the second click for a little bit, you can actually go inside the directory. So if I double click normally, it will just load configure. But if I double click and hold on the second click, it will load up. Will go inside the directory, and in here I'm trying to remember where it is. It's not under resources, choices, boot, no, I can't remember. It's been too long since library. It's resources, isn't it? That must be choices. One at boot. I'm basically just looking for. There should be a. That's not right. How have I forgotten that? Loader? Oh, it might be under loader. It is under loader. There it is. Right. So basically loader, if you double click loader or double click and hold loader, it will actually open the hidden FAT partition that basically on all RISC OS images use, and that includes command line txt and config txt, which is the same as doing the whole nano thing you used to do for Raspbian, and that then allows you to have the txt files. You can make changes, including being able to potentially turn off the monitor edict that this thing uses and messes everything up. So it also allows you to set up things like video displays, etc. I've lost my train of thought as to why I wanted to come in here now. Nope, it's gone. Can't remember what I wanted. I think we were looking for the original ROM, which is there. So that's the ROM. So RISC-OS, it is .img, but RISC-OS swaps dots and slashes around, which is one of the annoying quirks of this operating system. So that is the ROM, basically. And I'm trying to think, can we make changes in here while it's still live? Let's just see if I can. In my keyboard, which is down here. Just a quick test. Is it read only? Or I can make changes. Right, it's not read only. Okay. So, new ways to break things. Yeah, not sure. Do I want to break things tonight? I don't know. I've broken things for us to look at, and I've already taken up an hour and 20 minutes of this. What do you think, people? Should we carry on, or should we go and look at the BBC master that's annoying me? Which will mean we'll need to take a short break because I need to do a bit of a reset. And my cup of tea is suspiciously looking empty. So I don't know what's the consensus for anyone left watching. Now is your time to type on keyboard, people. And let me know what you're thinking. What do you want to do? Do you want me to carry on with this? Because I'll need to put the ROMs onto something else that works. I know it's my call, Brian. It's like, I'm putting it out there as a consensus. Right, BBC Master, or shall we swap the ROM over on this and break it? What do you want to do? I don't mind. It needs to be done. So, Andrew, I take it you're saying we should probably go for it. Yeah, okay. Brian's indifferent. Nah, you're all right. Oh dear. Any more for any more? I'll make the decision what we're doing. I need to turn that screensaver off because if you're asking for my decision, I'm a master guy. Right, okay, so we've got one vote. Andrew, I'm assuming you're saying we'll stay here. Brian is saying we should go and look at the master. I need one more person to dial in, and whatever as the decider. What are we doing? I'm going to switch over. We're going to break this by putting the see if Andy's ROM will load. I got a feeling what will happen is we'll put his ROM in. Master, right? Thank you, and hello to Real Live Radio. We are going over to master. Right, fair enough. Right, so we'll break this another day, or I might break this in part 5 or 6. But okay. Brilliant. Thank you, Master. Right, there we are. Yeah, indefinitely. We're going over to Master then. So, but yeah, so I am, just to kind of round this off, I am really thrilled with this. This has been so much fun this week to do. It's just nice to have the time, just like a week, just to spend on this project and to do like a sort of practical build, make something that was very broken alive again, get it up to exhibition and show quality, and then actually be able to actually share it. So yeah, we'll take the big grey box off. Also, it's very difficult to break RISC-OS. You can pull the plug out on it, and it's not like Linux on the Pi that corrupts. It's you know, there's stuff about this OS, although the support for it is terrible, and the drivers are terrible, and most of the software is terrible. There is something about it which is so nice and so different, especially on the Pi. So there we are. So we just shut down like that, and we can pull the power, and there we are. We're done. Right. I think I need to take a 10-minute break for another cup of tea and to remove this giant box off the desk, set the master up, and then we'll go through what on earth is going on with the master and why it's misbehaving. So let's take 10 minutes. I'll leave you with some more pages from Night Owl, and we'll back. So yeah, give me about 10 minutes and we'll be back. And we're back. Hi everyone, thanks for that. I've got my cup of tea, so we're all good for the last sort of half hour or so. Time just gone 21:33 GMT +1 here in the UK. And you're of course with 8 till late live on youtube.com/Wi-Fi sheep with me, Tom. So, by vote of the masses, here is the troublesome BBC Master 128. Now, this is also part of the Rotten Acorns series because I want to take two BBC Masters and the RISC PC you've just seen. So the RISC PC you've just seen, two BBC Masters. We've been working ad hoc on and off with these. This one, if I turn it on, won't make a sound because the speaker isn't in. Won't make a sound because I've not actually turned it on at the plug. There we go. And there we are. So all is fine. Although I've only got 96k. Why have I only got 96k on a 128? Eh? But when you press brake, interesting. This one's been playing up. So you might remember, those of you that watched a few weeks back, if we just go back to, if I take the lid off this one. So basically this is the machine that I'm intending to actually join the Ethernet network at the LAN party. So this is the Ethernet module, originally Acorn Ethernet module. We also have a multi-ROM fitted. This replaced the original machine ROM. This was given to me by Richard Webb, who kindly sent it in. Richard occasionally is on the live stream chat. It also has a backup CMOS battery, which is started to slide around, unfortunately, which is here. And then there is this little switch, or turning switch, which is probably meant to go in the notch here, and I haven't fitted it yet. So if we turn this off, we should be able to put the machine back to return the switch. So try that way. I have got the kit with the labels and I just haven't put it all on, so you should be able to fit the switch to the back, which we must do, and then label up what it's actually pointing to. So let's just turn this back on. I'm just going for the BNC connector. So, okay, brake. That's now working. That's now working fine. So what was happening, I think it was last week, were we working on this last week? I think we were. I was hitting brake and I was just getting a series of junk. I was getting junk numbers. And I thought, originally, I thought it might have been the, I just lift, this isn't plugged in at the moment, that's why we've got no sound. I thought it may have been the additional Acorn ADFS and the Retroclinic RAMFS ROM. So this one we were trying to also get the, I've got a data center which was given to me. Again, it's the same donation that that original RISC PC came with as well. Luckily, the data center wasn't as weathered or damaged as the other hardware I was given was. But I did think maybe it's one of these, you know, taking issue. But that's now working, which is interesting. Then I thought, well, okay, if I hit brake and it's failing, just go back to the capture so you can see if it's brake and it was failing. That was normally a sign that the Raspberry Pi was done. Now, admittedly, so this one actually has a Raspberry Pi code processor. It's fitted into the underside of the machine. So with the Masters, many of you have BBC Masters will already know this. You can fit internally, so there's two slots here, and there's a card that fits like this. And you can fit a Raspberry Pi inside, and that acts as the co-processor unit. Or you can fit it to the tube interface, which fits underneath. It's just under the keyboard here. And I don't know if I can just very carefully turn this machine upside down, which is probably a really bad idea, but we'll try it anyway. Being very, very careful. So I can get that on camera so you can see it. There we are. So, tube interface. And there's a Raspberry Pi Zero with an adapter board fitted into that socket. on the underside of the machine. So it's sort of discreetly hidden out the way. That also works with BBC Model Bs. So the original form factor machines. Oh, there we go. Let's get that back on. Right. And that's now working absolutely fine, where it wasn't working at all before, which is kind of annoying. So something loose? ROM issue? I don't know. I was expecting more of a fight than that, but if we go ST, so that's the setup. Internal tube, yes. Scroll TV, yes, yes. Okay. Yeah, fine, good. So I've got to decide what we're going to run with it. So this has got a terminal on board. That's the ROMs. I honestly can't remember this machine, because this is my original. This was also donated by the same club member who a few years ago now actually gave me the original RISC-PC. Also gave me this. This is back 14, 15, something like that, before I was doing Wi-Fi Sheep. Gave me a RISC-PC and actually gave me this BBC Master at the same time, and I got a monitor and all sorts as well. So I was very fortunate. But this machine was actually gifted to me. This is the original that I had of the Master. I did some work with it. So it's got the video, Rob Coleman's video NULA board fitted. So it can do, when you're going for RGB, it can do, up to 4,000 and something colours. Multi-ROM is obviously now gifted by Richard Webb, so that just needs fitting. The Ethernet card came out of... I got a few more Masters that were given to me by somebody else, but I had to go and get them from Manchester. Again, this is just before I was doing Wi-Fi Sheep, actually. So, and one of them actually had an Ethernet module in it, so that's where this Ethernet card comes from. This card does work. I know it works because basically we ran this at the first Ethernet LAN party event at the National Computer Museum a few years ago. So I know that works. I'm guessing then it must have just been the tube interface was loose, because that's now working absolutely fine. Yeah. I hate it when things sort of work after not working, if you know what I mean. It's a bit disconcerting. Okay, so let's just power back down. Just bear with me. So let's turn. So if I now, I really need to fit this switch properly. So that's all the way one way. So if I turn this back, one of these is the original. There it is. So that's the original BBC ROM. Never intended for the Master. And that's what I'm talking about. It starts to mess up. But that was never intended for the BBC Master. That's the BBC Model B, Model A ROM. And you can tell that by going help. OS 1 pop, but it has a lot of games already fitted. You'll only see this as black and white, but it's got games fitted. And there won't be any sound because I haven't got the so it does prove the point that the although it was a later machine, the BBC Master was actually completely backward compatible, more or less, with the original Model B, Model A. So much so you can even run the software and the ROMs work more or less fine. I think there's very few software that was ever had problems running on a BBC Master. Anyway, you get the gist. So that's that. Okay, that's one way. one up. That's, I'm guessing, oops, help, star, help. So it's got tube interface works, SRAM, some sort of mouse driver. There's the retro clinic ROM filing system. Okay. Again, power down, turn again. It's just on this. It could be there's an incompatibility. Yeah, okay. Acorn OS. That starts to have problems, bad some. And the final one, which is up here. That's also happy. ROMs. I don't know. I don't know is the honest truth. No idea. I'm getting a feeling that two of the ROMs might be incompatible with the tube interface. Because I'm sure I can change that. FX151230. Oh, what's the Intel? Is it 14 or 8? I cannot remember. 8 Intel chip. Yeah. 286 Intel. And that's what we'd use for running Gem. So, yes, that seems to be. Oops. ROMs. Status. Yep, that looks fine. So, I don't know, basically, is the answer to that. I'm just wondering if I got my box of innets somewhere for this. BBC Micro Fixings. It's not in that box. Basically, I don't know about you, but when I've got like some multiple projects going on at the same time, I often have to have like little boxes just to sort of store things in, because it's so easy to sort of just move things around and you forget where stuff is, and then you think, hang on, where's that? Like, I'm trying to think of that box. Nope, that box is not right. That's not the right box. Basically, I'm just trying to figure out what did I do with the other bits of Richard's stuff, because there was a sticker. I don't think it's this one either. Nope. But there was a sticker to actually fix on the back, and I just wanted to check which way around that goes before I stick it on backwards, which, me being me, I probably would. So I think we'll definitely install this ROM onto this machine. So let's just turn that machine back off. So there's this little area here which I think you're meant to be able to punch out, but yeah, I could probably actually, if I turn the camera down, let's have a see if I can show you it. Again, apologies if we're a bit blurry, but yeah, so there's this little perforated square area. It's a shame to cut that really, because it's never been, there's a bit of a dent here and another bit of a dent here, but basically the switch clamps into that space there, so I probably really should fix that, because I will find the box. Like, what normally happens is I find it, let's just check it's this one here. Don't think it is. This is the Gocart box. Let's just check. Oh no, I found a sticker. It was in there. Right, excellent. Okay. So basically, a few bits Richard gave me, and there's this like little piece of sticker card. I think it goes that way. I say sticker card. I think you need a bit of. I've got a bit of Pritt stick or something we can use, which is which will be fine. So, and you can see how it's labelled up. So it tells you what OS is for what. And I believe that would fit. What goes on something kind of like that, which would make sense. So, you know, I hate to cut, you know, that's survived since 1986 or whenever this machine was manufactured, which I think was about 86 for this one. Because it's an early one, it's got an earlier version motherboard in it. It's a shame to cut this out because it's lasted so long, but at the same time, you know, such is progress. So, and if I just get my snips. Just wonder if I can just snip this out carefully. And I hate to do it, but needs must. Something a bit like that, and then if I just cut it, it's this weird sort of almost like vinyl. I don't quite know what it is. It's sort of plastic. It's not like a vinyl. Sort of the whole shielding has covered in it. So that goes like that, and this then has. Trying to figure out how that works. So that's the switch. I think it goes. Oh, there we are. So I think it's slots. There's like a groove slot between top and bottom. Oh, there you go. Oh, it's a bit loose. Is there a way of tightening that up, or am I missing something here? Oh, I'm meant to glue. I might have to glue this in, possibly. I can appreciate I can't see what I'm doing that well, so okay, that goes in like that. I can only assume that has to glue in then. Because it's like two little pieces of, where are we? Two pieces of 3D printed material. I've had a job of these super glue of late, so if that goes in like that, yeah, okay. So it probably needs a little bit of glue, and then this sits sort of like that. Obviously making sure my switch is going to face the right way, so that's all the way. Well, if that's going there, that's pointing completely the wrong direction, so hang on. Right. Goes like that. Okay, yeah, that looks about right. So do we just need, there's no way of mechanically screwing this on the looks of it, so do we just need a little bit of super glue. Careful not to glue the switch up, just a tiny bit of super glue. And my super glue's not been the most reliable actually, but it's gone a little bit old, but blob there. Blob there. It's probably not going to be sufficient, but okay. That goes on like that. Pair of scissors, and we just see it's got like this slightly white. Just cut the other camera so you can see. Slightly white edge on things. So I might just give it the very slightest trim, just to take that white edge off. There we are, that's a bit better. And it seems to be like a misprint or something on the other side, so we're just going to use some Pritt stick, which will be probably more than sufficient. Just make sure we get it right into the corners. Okay. And then we should be able to just fit this on there like that. I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. And then that is turning the right way, which is good. Superb. Obviously I just need to get my super glue. The super glue is a bit old in fact, so I don't know how well that's going to hold. But really you want to get a nut or something in and just tighten that. That would fit, but should be alright when it's in. So that's now installed the switch into the machine. So when I now come to put the lid back on, but before we do that, I should put my speaker back in. Which, excuse me. Okay, speaker is now back in. That goes back on like that. There we go. Lid back on. Yes. Switch now in. But not secure. So yeah, I might need to go and put some more glue on that because that's struggling a little bit, unfortunately. Come on. But obviously don't want to glue the actual switch up, so you need to be careful how you do it, but there we go. We're actually getting glue on myself or glue in the switch, so we might have to just leave that like that for the moment. Should be able to power back on. There we go. Sound again. And that's on the original. It's pointing at the original, so yeah, that's fine. That's actually working as I'd expect. So once again, we'll say a huge thank you to Richard Webb for donating that. yeah, hopefully then this machine should be all right. I know the other one was okay. So as I said, its plan is for show dates for the first one coming up, which is June the 7th and 8th at the National Museum of Computing, Bletchley Park, and that's said the 7th and 8th, and that's going to be for the LAN party. So this machine on the desk, the plan is this one will be the LAN party machine, and I'm going to have another master, and the wrist PC are going to be hopefully together as a side exhibit that's not part of the main show, or not part of the LAN party. And I'm actually thinking if I can get away with it, because I've got here it is, this is the serial adapter that Brian very kindly sent me. Because it's USB, so it's RS, well, I say RS2, it's RS, whatever the standard on this is. Basically, it might be possible to plug the Raspberry Pi powered wrist PC directly into the BBC Master. So those two could almost be like serial linked together for the event. And you'd be able to like type in a terminal task window on the RISC OS and actually get it typing on the BBC Micro and vice versa. So I thought that might be a cool little thing to do. I'm thinking obviously the wrist PC's there in its own capacity because it's just nice to have a completely rebuilt machine. And the other master, not this one, but the other one, I'm thinking I might run, that's got the internal coprocessor fitted. Again, Raspberry Pi coprocessor. I might run that with a GEM x86 operating system when it's not doing the copro trick, or the serial trick, if you like, with the wrist PC. So that's kind of the thinking. Hopefully I've not glued my damn switch together. I'll be annoyed if I have. Ooh, that was bad. Yeah, turn the machine off before you turn the ROM. So yeah, okay. So I think we're all right, but yeah. So that's the latest stuff. I really need to think of a better way to get these to clamp together, but because that whole thing is moving, which is really a shame actually. That needs to. Let's go back to the original. So that should be original ROM, and it is. Yeah. There we are. And that doesn't like the coprocessor, which you'd expect it not to like the coprocessor. So don't think SD works on that either. No. And I've got glue. I've actually got glue on my fingers, which is not a good way to end the night. So yeah, not sure if that's going to work, but we'll give it a shot. I might have to think of something, or might have to take this knob off and fit a screw or something, because I've clearly missed how that's meant to go together. Clearly missed something, but anyway, there we are. I'll ask Richard about it. Richard, have I messed this up now? Anyway, at least it hasn't glued the switch together, so that would be a nightmare. But yeah, you almost want to, you almost do need to glue the base of, doesn't it, again? Glue the base of the switch. Turn that back on. Yeah, that's not happy. So back one the way we came. That's happy. Okay. Yeah, we almost need to glue the base of the switch, which is weird, but because otherwise it just turns on the yeah. Okay, all right, well look, I'm pleased that's working, so I think we're getting there. I just need to do some minor tweaks, obviously. And one last tweak I need to do is let's point back at me. There we go, something like that. That's about right. Right, as my card's just fallen. The key strip car's just fallen out the case. Right. So that is probably going to be that for tonight. So yeah, we've got a little bit done, and lots of really interesting things happening. So next week, obviously I've got to still finish doing the RISC-PC, but I also want to look at getting this modem, serial modem, working for BBSing and stuff. So that's kind of my job for next week. I've got a couple of Raspberry Pi 3s lying around. There's one over here. So I've got Raspberry Pi 3s unused lying around. They'll be perfect act as modems and BBS servers and all sorts. So that's kind of my thinking for the new week. So I've got a second week off, which is quite nice. So, and I said we'll be back here, all things being well, we'll be back here for episode 15. It's 14 right now, so it's episode 15 of 8 till late next week from 2000 hours BST or GMT +1. Quick reminder once again, there's our members, and shortly to be updated with TB Martin, who has joined us as well this evening. So once again, a huge thank you to you, sir, for your very kind support. Greatly appreciated. Patreon, if you're interested, it's patreon.com/Wi-Fi Sheep, and there is the YouTube channel members with the mid support tier starting at $2.99 all the way down to base support at 99 pence, and that'll be in your local currency or US dollars where applicable. As I keep going on about it, there's your show dates again. So I think tickets are running out on the Connect LAN party. It'd be great to see you. I was almost going to say show of hands who's actually planning of attending. If any of you are planning either attending the Connect LAN party or for Cambridge. Obviously Cambridge is a little way off yet. I don't think have tickets gone on sale for Cambridge. Not even sure they have actually as yet. But I definitely know we are getting low on tickets available for places for the Connect LAN party. I'm going to be there for both days on both of these events. So it'll be fantastic to see you in person if you are planning of coming along. I said subject to change, but as it's looking, that's what I'm fully intended to do. And you'll be able to see these machines are going to be at least one of the masters should be at Cambridge, and both masters should be or will be at Milton Keynes for the National Computer Museum, as will my new rebuilt Acorn RISC-PC that's not a RISC-PC, if that makes sense. But yeah, still been an absolutely fantastic project. Okay, so at the time, just gone 6 minutes past 10 here in the UK. I think we'll call it a night here on 8 till late, the live stream from youtube.com/Wi-Fi Sheep. If you haven't done so already, please do consider liking and subscribing to the channel. And don't forget Wi-Fi Sheep Channel 2. You can visit that at 2.wifisheep.co.uk. Details to that should be in the description of this video. I know I keep saying that, and then a lot of the time it isn't, but you should be able to find Channel 2 quite easily. You can actually find it on the main YouTube page for the Wi-Fi Sheep Tech channel, which you're watching this on right now. We'll be back same time next week from 8 o'clock. That's 2000 hours GMT +1 or BST if you're here in the UK. Until then, may I wish you a very peaceful night. Good night.